Yep, that's me. You might be wondering how I ended up here. Let me tell you a story. Before I get into this, short spoiler warning: if you haven't seen the tournament, I really recommend going back and watching it. You can find it on the Twitch channel of Antoine Daniel or of Hey Pando on the English cast. I'll leave the links to those in the description. A short explanation of what the tournament is slash was for those who have never heard of this or just want a refresher. Essentially, you could sign up as a team of 3 to 4 people, and by the time the teams were chosen, about 90 teams had signed up. The organizers then went ahead and chose the 20 teams they felt were the best or most representative of these 90, and the other 10 were randomly drawn to give a chance to everyone, even someone who maybe hasn't even played more than 100 games of Geoguessr. You still had a chance to participate in the tournament. And what I was actually a bit surprised about, because you can never know, like all 30 teams showed up. No one was just missing entirely. I don't fully know if anyone, like literally anyone, just one team member didn't make it. I didn't hear anything about it. So that was pretty cool. But before we get more into the tournament, let me tell you about my whole week there, because I already arrived on Monday for multiple reasons. First off, to meet my fantastic teammates and have some fun in Paris with them. And secondly, because I'm just always worried like something's going to go wrong. And if I take a flight on Friday just to arrive in time on Saturday, then it's just not a good feeling for me. So I arrived on Monday. So I went to the airport on Monday about 10 in the morning. Well, that's where I left the house. So arrived at the airport at around 11. Flight was at 13 something. Everything went well. Arrived at the airport in Paris, met Toll, and then then there's this thing in Paris called the Navigo Travel Pass that basically allows you to travel basically in any area in or even slightly around Paris for free on public transport. I say for free. You have to pay 22 euros 80 per week, but that's basically for free, considering like even just a train ticket from the Charles de Gaulle airport to the middle of the city is probably like 10 euros. So just the tickets from the airport to the city and back already pretty much make up those 20 euros. So we wanted to get those tickets. The counter where you could get those tickets at Terminal 3 where I arrived was closed. We took the shuttle to Terminal 2, got the tickets, got to the train station that led to Paris, looked at the announcement board of where when the next train is going to come, and it was empty. Apparently there had been an accident and the trains were not running. So that was a great start. We then went to the bus station, and we got a bus into Paris. And during that bus ride, I realized how far away the airport was from the city. I gotta say here as well, I have been to Paris before, 15 years ago, and back then with my family, it took us about 4 hours to get from the airport to our hotel. That includes a lot of time just being lost in the metro system with two parents who don't really speak any French at all, and me being an 11-year-old back then, also not speaking any French at all. And also with sort of like an aversion to asking people for help, and probably with the general difficulty communicating because, French people's English not being the best all the time, and my parents also don't have the most amazing ability to speak the English language. So even if the French had understood them, anyway. So basically, I was just happy if we beat that time, and we did. Just took us 2 hours and 40, I think, to get from the airport to the hotel, which, it was raining heavily anyway. I was still in a good mood. First day, everything's fine. I then got to my hotel. Pretty nice hotel, great location. Right around the Arts et Métiers station. Literally just like 50 meters from the exit of the hotel to the train station, metro station. And my room was on the 6th floor. So we went in, went up the elevator, typical like old house style Paris elevator that feels like it could crash and burn at any second, basically. Which I took to get my luggage up to the 6th floor, and then at the end of the week to get it down again. And every other possible moment, I took the stairs, just because I'm not going in that elevator any more than I have to. Yeah, we then left. We left my bag there, and then went out to eat and had a nice walk around Paris until like 9 p.m., 8 p.m., or at 9 p.m., 10 p.m. That's the way around. The clock works. Yeah, that's basically the Monday. On Tuesday, I went to the zoo with Jake and had a great time there too. I kind of generally like going to zoos, and the one in Paris was pretty nice. A lot of animals that just weren't really we weren't really able to see because they were either hiding very well or they were just not in their enclosures at that point in time. But a pretty nice zoo in general, like very, very spacious enclosures, a lot of places for the animals to hide and stuff like that, which is always nice to see. I think that took around 3 hours to get around there. And yeah, then we just went back into town, grabbed something to eat at a supermarket. And yeah, that was pretty much most of the Tuesday, I think. I don't actually remember what I did in the afternoon. On Wednesday, we met up again, Tall, Jake, and me. And we just had a nice walk around the city from like 10 a.m. to about 12:30. And just explored a few of the. I think we went through Le Marais first, which is the third arrondissement, and then we went over to the Louvre, sort of that area. We didn't actually go into the Louvre because why would we? There's a million people there, and it's probably not an amazing experience from everything I've ever heard. But we just walked around there and then walked towards the Arc de Triomphe. Not actually all the way there because that's like miles away. But we walked through the park leading there, which was pretty nice. Had some art. And then we went to eat. Also, all of my favorite pictures from the trip are, all the photos with my teammates. But if we excluded those, where I took pretty much my favorite picture of the trip. So we ate there. Took a pretty long while. I think we were there for about 1.5 hours. And then we went to a game bar where we played some board games for another 3 hours or so before we went home. On Thursday then, we went home to Toll's place. Jake and I met up at about 2:30 in the Gare du Nord train station and took a train just headed north to sort of like the end of the sort of Paris area where my travel pass still counted, and then exited like the last train station there. And we were quite a bit early. Toll had to work from home at that day, so he couldn't really get off any earlier than 4 p.m. So we walked around the city called Foss for like an hour and a half, which was also quite nice, just exploring some random town/city on the outskirts of Paris. And then Tor came, collected us with his car, and brought us back to his home with a lot of traffic. Yeah, and then we just had a little chat, ate some pizza, and then did a 1-hour Geoguessr stream on his channel, which I'll also link in the description, because I also recommend you to watch that back. It was a lot of fun too. After that, we went back home on like the second last train. We actually, like, Tor took us back to the train station where he had initially picked us up. And obviously at this point of the day, the train station was like closed. The main place where, any kind of people work, that was closed, but you can obviously still go in through like the side gates. But you need a ticket for that. And the only ticket machine there was broken. And I had my travel pass, so I would have been fine. But Jake obviously needed to buy a ticket. And, well, he couldn't. And we thought about, maybe I'll just swipe mine through, go through, and then hand it to Jake. Or Tor swipes his and then just lets Jake go through. But in the end, Tor decided, not worth the risk. Never know. So he took us with his car to the next train station. It was a tight call because I think the train was supposed to come to the first station in like 12 minutes or 13 minutes. And the GPS on Tor's phone said it would take us 12 minutes to get to the next station by car. So it was close. But we did manage to make it there. The ticket machine worked. Jake got his ticket, and we had like 3 or 4 minutes before the train arrived. So everything went fine, and we got home that day. Friday, I actually mostly spent just practicing, not doing much, not leaving my hotel room. But I got some good practice in. I don't think any of it really helped for the tournaments. I learned all the Russian phone area codes, for example, and they never came up once. That knowledge was useless, but I always know it for the future, unless I inevitably forget it next week. And yeah, that leaves us with the event. We knew beforehand that we were in Group 3, so we were the last of the group stages. We had plenty of time in the morning to get there. We were scheduled to start playing at 1 p.m. and we're supposed to arrive before 12 just to, make sure everyone's here. But all of us decided, we kind of want to talk to other people, meet someone, stuff like that. So we all decided we'll come around 10. And most of us did. Jake and Tall were here around that time. I think Jake was I was there around 10 and a couple minutes. Jake was there 5 minutes, 10 minutes after me, and then Tall another 10 minutes after that. And GC, I think, arrived at 11:30 or something like that. He took a while, but he also arrived plenty of time before the scheduled time. So we were all here and ready to play. And yeah, I want to say as well, it was lovely meeting all of them, not only just my teammates, but the other teams as well. Lots of people that I've been talking to for years, lots of people that I've just, known existed, but haven't really had any contact with. So just a lot of great people in general. There wasn't anyone who wasn't nice that I met. There might have been some people that weren't nice that I didn't meet, but they didn't say hello, so no problems there. And yeah, I could try to name all of them, but there were so many that I'm just worried I'd forget someone. And were also one or two people who I I never asked their name. They didn't introduce themselves, so I'm not entirely sure who they were. But it was great meeting them as well. And yeah, so as I said, I could name all of them, but I'd rather not, just because I'd forget one of them, and that would annoy me more than anyone else. But yeah, that was probably my favorite thing of the whole trip, next to just the event in general, was just meeting all of the people. The whole setup was kind of like this, where it was a pretty big building that had two separate entrances. And in sort of the lower entrance, there was this big waiting area with room for about I guess 100 people technically, but not really. It's not meant to be 100 people in there. But there was plenty of room, and there was a big screen where we could follow the stream live, which was quite nice, and sort of a bit of a seating area. There was food there. There was something to drink there, and everything. It was a pretty nice area. And then it was time to go to the other area to play our group stages. And the group stage went pretty well. I had a decent game in Japan. Tol and Jake did a great job in Greece and Argentina, respectively. I'm not going to really explain all of the game modes. Sorry about that, but it would just take forever. Then, and we finished that country game mode at the beginning in first place of the group stage, so that was a great start. Then the urban no move co-op didn't go too well. It wasn't bad, but it was just not our best game. Finished that one in 6th, I think. But then Tall, Jake, and GC did a decent job in the roll game and finished that in 4th, I think. And then our specialty in the speedrun, we won that too in a time of, I think it was about 14 minutes and 20. Which was also very nice. That was kind of one of our goals as well, just to win that speedrun, because we'd been doing pretty well on that previously too. And that ended up with us finishing the group stage in 2nd place. The top 5 teams advanced from every group, plus the best 6th place team. So it meant we were pretty easily through. And I think in terms of overall seeding, we were 4th, if I remember correctly. The 4th most points out of all of the 3 group stages. Which you'd think would lead us to one of the easier, round of 16 games. And, well, it brought us right into the hands of Atlas, who were playing with Hedigme, Orpheus, Sisand, and Hexalt. which we've kind of got a long, like, friendly rivalry. Um, they were in the last Liga into Camus season in the kind of group stages, I think it was. They were the only team that beat us and stopped us from going to the playoffs, annoyingly. So we really wanted to beat them, also just because we've known them for a long time. And yeah, it started off with Thailand, where I think we did, like, we had a decent game, but just they were too strong, like pretty close to a 25k. And we had 2 rounds that we weren't able to 5k basically. And even if we had 5k one of them, it still wouldn't have been enough. So a deserved first win for them. But we came back. They told Jake and GC won the rural, and then me, JC, and GC, and then me, GC, and Jake managed to get the team duels win with a great guess from Jake in California, and managed to win that game 2-1 and advance to the quarterfinals. And in the quarterfinals, we met up against team France Dance, which consisted of Rihanna, Emily, and Beaston. Tall GC and Jake did a great job in the CS sacrifice. Barely managed to sneak out a win. I think it was pretty close, but we did win. And then it was Brazil time for me, GC, for me, GC, and wait, I don't actually remember. Was it Tall or was it Jake? Well, I genuinely don't remember if it was Tall or Jake who was the third person playing there. Oops. But yeah, we won that. That was a very good game from us. I think like 2 of us got 24,996 and 1 got 24,986. So they got around 24k. They did decently as well. But yeah, it was a good 2-0 win for us. And that brought us to the semifinals against a community team consisting of Radu, Made Potato, and Toro. And that was always going to be a difficult game because Radu is just insane, basically. And the way that worked was that each team was allowed to pick one country out of the ones that hadn't been selected yet. And I had the idea, which I thought was a very good idea at the time, to pick France as the country to play for us. Just because, you know, them being American/Indian meant that they didn't really have the most experience in France. And, you know, Tall is France. Me and Jake have been playing France in the Cactus League for ages. So I was pretty confident that France was the right pick. And I would have still think, like, even looking at any other country that exists, like there were some countries, like Jake learned all of the Kabupatans in Indonesia. So that could have also worked. But I feel like France was the safest play. And that worked out great. We got like 24.7, I think Tall got 24.6, something like that. And they got around like 19k. And then they picked the US. And I was sitting out for the next 2 rounds for the US and the Rural Games. And the US was a really, really exciting game to watch. So even if you've got nothing else, even if you want to watch nothing else, watch that. And that it was... I was sitting in a waiting room like next door with like 7 admins because I was the only player sitting out. Like that was the only game going on at the time. And they only had 3 players. So I was the only player sitting out that round. And it was really exciting and nerve-wracking to watch them. But they did it. They won with a perfect game. And the others didn't drop many points. I think only like 10, 11 points or something like that. But that's enough in Geoguessr. Then came the Roll Games, and I knew that was always going to be super difficult to win. As I said, Radu is incredible at those kinds of games. And we did actually get close. There was one round in there in particular that we got and they didn't. I don't remember which it was, but that brought, like at the beginning, we kind of continuously lost a few points here and there. That round brought us back in. And then we had the chance with one particular round, which I don't remember what it was, but they got wrong. And unfortunately, we also got wrong. And that just meant, you know, we didn't have anything else to catch up with anymore. So 2-1 it was. Then the 4th map was, it's called Equilibrio. It's basically just 3 players play 3 different seeds and they're all on either the same longitude or latitude. And the first 3 rounds went pretty decently. And then came my downfall, essentially, where I screwed up rounds 4 and 5. And that meant we just, yeah, lost that game, unfortunately. And it was 2-2. And then team duels, again, was always going to be difficult. And we held our own until like round, I think 5 or 6 it was. Might have even been further, I don't quite remember. Then there was like just like snow coverage, a snow road through the middle of a forest. No real big clues there. And they all put their pins in California. We all put it in Finland/Sweden, and unfortunately, it was like I think it was Alberta or something like that, like Western Canada. And unfortunately, with the multiplier that was already in effect at that point, which I think was 3.5, so it must have been like round 8 or 9 actually. That just meant that even there, like 2,500 points were enough to eliminate us. And we unfortunately had to, well, when our journey unfortunately ended there in the semifinals, which was a bit, yeah, unlucky. We could have made it to the finals, but yeah, I mean, we can't be too disappointed with that. Our goals going into it was reaching the quarterfinals, or like, at least like top 8. So maybe, yeah, going through the loser brackets and winning that or something like that would have also been, I would have considered a success. But yeah, overall, we're very happy with the event. Just very happy with the whole journey in general, the whole week in Paris, meeting everyone. And yeah, we continued watching the events to its finish at around like 1 a.m. in the morning, and then eventually, after speaking to some people, eventually went home and like got to my hotel at like 1:45 in the morning. But yeah, it was great. Again, I can't emphasize this enough. I had so much fun meeting everyone, like all the people I've known previously, and even some new people that I hadn't known previously, which were all lovely. And yeah, so that was my journey. I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and thanks for doing so. And I'll see you guys next time. Till then, bye.